as is.
Yeah.
And here we are. We're streaming on YouTube. Hello, YouTube.
YouTube.
And
What's up? Let's go.
I'm gonna press record now. All right, awesome. 3, 2, 1.
Leaders and healers, ladies and gentlemen, gamers and claimers from around the universe, from around the globe, from around the community. I am your host, Anthony Cheam, on the Power, Purpose, and Passion podcast. Speaker, author, life coach, trainer, friend, family member to the world community, to the globe. Ready to serve you on this podcast, the Power, Purpose, and Passion podcast, where we help you claim your power, clarify your purpose, and cultivate your deepest, widest, and highest passions possible so you can ultimately show up as the better, best, more sharpened, loving, more wise version of yourself, and then ultimately inspire others to do the same, because that's what life's all about, is giving and living and learning and loving as much as you possibly can, and resting in between as well. That's very, very, very important. So thank you for joining us. What's going on, Cam? We are about to continue this process of Q&A. And this is a wonderful topic I want to discuss in dealing with other people. We've done a segment on a 9-piece segment on how to improve your relationships. But this particular topic is one that I personally struggle with, just because I'm in the coaching industry, in the change agent business of coaching, life coaching, training, mentorship, stuff like that. And it gets pretty emotionally draining. So thank you for joining us for this segment. Enough is enough. Thank you, Cam. What's going on, man?
Not too much. I actually just woke up probably an hour ago, had a late night, but I woke up to pancakes. So it is a good day so far, I must say. Woke up to someone banging on my door. There's pancakes, and I was like, okay, I'm there. Don't you worry. So yeah, it's been a good morning, having a great time. Always excited for the show, honestly, because I think I told you yesterday, it's like my daily dose of using my talents to bring some wholesome stuff to the world, some actually like useful and empowering material to the world. So I love it for sure. I also want to encourage, like, just you as a host, like, don't worry too much about like the back and forth, because I know, like, it's always like, Anthony, for 15 minutes I'll get on because you asked me how things are. Like, feel free to ask me anything throughout the show, because like, I'm here.
Thanks,
and it doesn't have to be like a sort of, I got to take the floor for this long. If you have any questions or you want to incorporate an example, like, I'm here reciprocating. We can make it more of a conversation. And the reason I love that, because I was listening to the Wayne Dyer podcast, and he always has that conversation with Diane, and I like the fact that there's like a little back and forth sometimes. That's really cool. But yeah, I just wanted to say that live on air. Let's go. But no, I'm excited for this topic because we did cover the relationship and the whole 9 steps to improving your relationships. And I think this is one of those sort of obstacles, one of those like rocky roads in a relationship where you got to make a decision. When is enough, right? So I'm really pumped for this subject, and let's just dive right into it. Why don't we?
Yeah. So what does that mean, when enough is enough? Or when as a coach, as a life coach, when do you actually, quote unquote, quit on a client and finally just say, when you're ready, I'll be here? And I wouldn't consider it quitting. I would consider it maybe just taking a leave of absence from that person, so the person could do some soul searching. Oftentimes what happens is that life coaches, psychotherapists, and people that are in this world of helping people one-on-one or in group settings, oftentimes we suffer from what they call compassion fatigue, where we just want so badly for people to make changes and make transformations, and we want to insert and install new software, new strategies, new insights, so they finally get it. But as I heard one time, I use this as well, is that I'm responsible to you, but not responsible for you. What I tell my audience is, whether I'm speaking live or on this podcast, or people one-on-one, or with families, or whatever it is abroad, I don't hold myself accountable to what the person does after the coaching session's done. Now, there's an accountability factor. I like the accountability. That does work. But I'm not them. I'm not to the point where their actions are going to affect my ability to serve people. Because oftentimes, before when I first started life coaching, I would oftentimes get so frustrated on myself and think I was a failure for not helping someone lose weight or improve their life or improve their spiritual experience or whatever it might be. And I would take it personally and go, my gosh, I'm a horrible person. No, not at all. I'm sure the people that are listening to this that try to help their friends or try to help their families or attempt to do their best to help their community, and it just feels like you're not doing anything. Trust me when I say this. The people that are actually making an effort when there's darkness and you feel like there's nothing working, that keep on trekking on, are persistent and sort of have that energy of perseverance, regardless of what happens. I'm going to continue to grow. I'm going to continue to serve. I applaud you because it's both exhilarating and exhausting. And I know my life is both exhilarated and exhausted just because, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I love it. I love the fact that I'm all over the place with my business. I'm all, helping various people, various families, doing various things, learning various things, and bringing them all together to help the greater good. And that's sort of my purpose. It's not sort of my purpose. It is my purpose to do that. And through my unique gifts and talents. So when is enough enough? I remember hearing even Les Brown say this. He said this in one of his audios. He said, if you can't bring the people up around you, for goodness sakes, do not let them bring you down. So if you've got an alcoholic friend or a drug addict friend, who's coming to you for help, and you're helping the person, and they just keep on running the same patterns, doing the same things, hanging around the same people. That doesn't mean you don't stop loving them where they are. But at some point, when you just got to say, listen, you need to get some help above and beyond me. Like, and they're going to pull you down. It's going to pull you down because you're going to feel like you're going to be pulled into their world. And I found myself doing that as well, with groups of friends in high school and in college, and either I was going to bring them up, or I was going to go down with them, or I was bringing other people down because of my own behavior. I was also a culprit of that too as well. So I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Oftentimes I've been both the victim of a bad relationship and also the person that actually beat the other person down in a relationship. So I'm fully aware to admit that. I'm okay to admit that, and I know both sides. So the point I'm saying is this, is when it comes to relationships, when it comes to helping other people, you guide and step aside. Like, this goes for parenting as well. We live in a society where a lot of parents are, I remember seeing a picture a long time ago where back in the 60s, 70s, and even the 80s, there was a picture of a teacher and a parent talking to the kid in the classroom, and they're both looking at the kid. And then fast forward to 2000, I think it was 2011 or 12, there was a picture of the kid playing his video games in his room while the parent was yelling at the teacher, and the teacher were yelling at the parents. And the kid's like, whatever, I get to be home playing my video games. And so what we need to do as a society is get back to divine principles and practices to support our children. Because I heard one guy say, Dr. Robert Rome, children don't make 100% of our population, but they do make 100% of our future. So we've got to learn to guide and step aside, allow children. And I just recently read an article that a client of mine gave me that was about parenting, that we got to allow our children to struggle. We got to allow people to struggle, because that where you struggle, you're going to gain the most strength. If you want to gain big muscles, you got to push against heavy weights. If you want to get smarter and wiser and more loving, then you're going to have to push against the resistance that life often throws at you, not run away from it. And we got to allow the people that we love to go through it, support them and encourage them. Yes, I'm not saying that. Coach them, guide them, strategize with them. Reinforce that they have worth, reinforce that you love them where they are. And yeah, that's what great mentorship's all about. You guide, you walk with them, but you're not going to walk it for them. You're not going to, nowadays we have people that are moms that are advocating for their kids to get straight A's. And then once they get a B, they yell at the teacher for not giving them an A or whatever it might be. And then they go out in the real world and look what happens. They get a job, and then their mom tries to get them a promotion that they didn't even earn. And so that we have to allow our children to fall and to fail. We got to let them to struggle to initiate the process of growing up from boys to men, from girls to women. And they need to initiate. And oftentimes the best initiator of growth and empowerment in our society is oftentimes suffering. But the other one is just solitude. But we're not taught to go into solitude, into silence, into cave, and do the desert experience on our own. We're not taught to do that. So the other option is suffering. Problem with suffering is a lot of people, I'd say 70, again, I'm not sure if this is the right number, 70, 80% of the people I know will go into suffering and get bitter and cynical. That's not going to help you either. So what am I getting at? What am I getting at is this. I don't want to get into like anthropological studies about, you know, certain cultures and how they raise their children. But what I do know is that one of the commonalities in, you know, certain culture, even to this day, this Brazilian Amazon tribe who initiates their children by putting these mitts on their hands and putting bullet ants who are sedated into their hands. And bullet ants, by the way, are the biggest ants in the world with the worst painful sting out of all insects in the world. Out of all of them. And they sedate these ants. And at age 9, 10, or 11, or 12, they put these mitts that have sleeping bullet ants in these mitts, and they put them on and they wake them up, and they do this little tribal dance to initiate them into manhood. And they just, they're biting their hands, and it's extreme. But man, when they finally get out and the next 24 hours, they're having all these crazy like hallucinations, and they're having feverish and all this crazy. But when they finally arrive at the end of that tunnel, surviving, not just surviving, but thriving that environment of pain and agony and suffering, man, did they grow up? And the answer is yes. The only equivalent in our society now to initiating people into our society, literally in Canada and the United States, I would say for the most part, is when a child turns 19 in Canada and 21 in the States, is when we're at the age to drink alcohol. And in Canada, I guess it's what, marijuana now too, right? So what I'm saying is that, hey, you're 19, I'll take you out for a beer. That's the only initiation we have. You know, in the Catholic Church, it's confirmation. But how many people out there who are Catholic ever remember their confirmation as being some spiritual, enlightening experience? I certainly was. I don't even remember it, actually. It was just like just a little ceremony. There's no real inner experience of transformation, no struggle, no manufactured suffering, which allowed the person to really look deeply within themselves and initiate themselves into manhood or to the next phase of maturity. And here's the other thing about it, what I've discovered. And I'm just saying this through my own studies, through anthropological studies and work that I've studied and read about. Women typically didn't need to be initiated. You know why? Because they had their monthly cycle. They bled. And one of the things about that is that initiated them. They had to suffer through that monthly cycle. Boys didn't need to suffer. And in some cultures, circumcision acted as an initiator, that they would teach these boys while they're just about to heal, when they're sensitive down there, and they would teach them when they're most vulnerable. I mean, how brilliant is that? So I went off on a tangent here. I know but the point is that oftentimes we enable people in their suffering. We fix things for them. We pick them up. I love the story of the Zen master sitting in a lotus position with a chrysalis in his hand, and one of the students comes over and says, "Zen master, what is that?" And the Zen master says, "It's a chrysalis. It's about to form into a butterfly." And the young boy was just ecstatic about it, and he said, "Wow. Can I have it?" And he said, "Yes, on one condition. When the chrysalis starts to open, you will not help the butterfly out of the actual chrysalis. Will you promise me that?" And the boy said, "Yeah." So the boy took it back home, was watching it. Nothing was happening. And after a long time, finally, the chrysalis started to break open. And after an impatient waiting of this boy, that oftentimes is pretty relevant in our teenagers today, anyways, young boys and girls. He just said, I want it now, instant gratification. And he literally ripped open the chrysalis to have this butterfly appear and fly up in the air and then only land to its death. It was dead. Boom, right smack on the floor. And the boy's devastated. So he brought it back to the Zen master, and the Zen master was like, "You helped it out, didn't you?" And the boy said, "Yeah, I thought I was helping." He said, "Yeah, you don't understand. The butterfly had to beat its wings against the sides of the wall to strengthen its wings. What you thought was helping that butterfly was actually killing it." And that's a perfect example of how we help other people. Oh, we'll buy things, we'll do things for them. The more you do for your children or for the people around you, the less they can do for themselves. Don't give your children loots and things. Give them roots and wings. Do not give the people around you loots and things. Make it a more apparent and more powerful process within yourself to give them roots, principles, values, morals, an example of empowerment, of love, of enlightenment, and wings, so they can fly on their own. Parenting, as Wayne Dyer said a long time ago in one of his audios, parenting isn't for leaning, but to make leaning unnecessary. Now, I'm not just talking about parenting. I'm talking about mentorship. I'm talking about leaders out there. We must guide and step aside. And I have to say, back in high school, I had to let go of certain friends because I just said, these people aren't going in the same direction I'm going. It was tough because I thought I respected them, and I did respect them, and they respected me. But I just knew they were going in a direction I wasn't willing to go. And I wish them all the best. But oftentimes what you got to do, you're trying to help somebody, friend, family member. And I'm not saying you stop helping them, but at some point you got to say, listen, you've got to grow up here. And I can't make you grow up. I can't make you exercise. It's like, imagine this for a second. I snap my fingers and I put on 50 pounds of muscle on your body. And the only stipulation to maintain that 50 pounds of muscle on your body would you'd have to maintain it. 99.999% of the people that don't know how to exercise and maintain the muscle will lose it. Why? Because they haven't learned and earned the right to actually build that muscle, go through that struggle of exercising the muscle to failure and pushing themselves through the pain. That's life. Life is the same way. It literally gives us the nature outside gives us those clues about how life is and that we must learn. So here's what I tell people out there. Tell your kids at an early age, and I'm introducing this to my daughter already. Life is hard. It is hard. If we give life is hard. There's no book that says life is easy. Life is hard. And if we're forewarned with that ability of saying life is going to be tough, man, that's okay. Then you give the person the edge of saying, hey, I was told a long time, life is tough. It's supposed to toughen me up. Every struggle gives me strength. Every challenge is just another growth in my life. Every virus that's in my life is just another opportunity for an update and upgrade in my life. Whatever metaphor you want to use. But my point is, when is enough enough? If you were to ask me the simple question, I don't think you should quit on people, but I think you should minimize your time with the people that are hurting you the most, that are struggling with their life the most. And what I'm not saying is just leave them completely. I'm not saying that because I don't like, if my wife was struggling or if my best friend was struggling, I would do everything in my power. But at some point, as I heard an Alcoholics Anonymous friend of mine say, God helps those who help themselves when they are ready. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. You can lead a horse to water, but you cannot force them to drink. So yeah, you support them, guide them, minimize your time with the people that are really bringing you down, and maximize the time with the people that are actually willing to learn what you need to learn, and that are willing to learn from your wisdom, from your example. And again, I'm not saying quit. Please do not get that from me, because I don't like to quit on people. But at some point, you got to say, you know what? When you're ready, I will be here when you're ready to make a change. I'll walk this journey with you. What do you think there, Cameron?
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Like, that's really where growth comes from. If I think, it's funny, every time I meet somebody and we're having a deep conversation, I'll just say, just to break the ice, I guess, what is your most emotionally significant moment of your entire life, or one of the most emotionally significant? And usually it's a negative experience. Mm-hmm. But it is really what shapes people. And like you said, you can't sort of always break people's falls and like make sure everything's comfortable for them. Like, it's actually very, very important that people experience, like, I think you were showing me that one tape of this dude who laid down on concrete for a few hours or something crazy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, little experiences like that. Like, when I take a cold shower, when I do something that is painful, that is like I'm suffering. It really, when I'm out of that cold shower, I feel amazing about everything. Hold your breath for like a minute, and you'll realize how amazing it is to breathe. And you don't know these things unless you've sort of lost them for a little bit, or you've gone through sort of pain. And I'd say, when it comes, because you're talking about in other people, right? It's making sure that they learn. Yeah. If you want to teach yourself this stuff, I would say just be alone. Like, really, I'm lucky in the sense that I kind of grew up that way. I grew up being like an outcast. I would literally at recess chill in the corner of the schoolyard and talk to no one in the freezing, blistering cold. I would just sit there in the corner doing nothing. And I had a lot of time to myself. I had a lot of solitude. But in your worst moments where, you know, you get broken up with, or you get in a fight with somebody, or you lose something, or you lose a family member for that matter, or anything, you feel like a failure. I don't know. I would really highly suggest you just sit with it. As the kids sat with their, you know, ant hands or whatever, sit with that pain. And I promise you, like, that's really the, like, how to grow by yourself. Because you really have, I think with birth, you have every every lesson is inside of you. Just like how with every disease, there is a cure. Every desire you have, there is a way for you to get that. I think in life, with every struggle, there is a lesson inside of you that you can learn. And you don't need to go anywhere else but inside to learn that lesson. Lao Tzu said you can arrive without traveling. You can know everything without seeing anything, right? Without going outside. You could just understand the entire universe. So very, very intriguing idea. Personally, I read books. That's what kind of triggers me. But really, I read and then I instantly relate to a personal experience and then I basically learn myself. No spiritual teacher is putting anything inside of you. They're just showing you, you know, and that's exactly what Anthony does. Obviously, he has these little tools and hacks and stuff that really do help. But a lot of the times, all of that is inside of you. And if you would just take a step back and stop watching TV, stop playing video games, stop talking to people, stop hanging out with people just for a day or two, just be with yourself, the results are absolutely incredible.
Yeah. You know, wow, you spoke very well. Well said. To kind of add to the people, I had, you know, just as examples in my life, when enough was enough, there comes a point where the client of mine would actually leave and just say, it's not working. I think this is not good. And then only a year or 2 years later, they finally, within themselves, as you said, they go into solitude, they self-examine themselves, they go on their desert experience and finally go, I'm sick and tired of where I am. And I get a phone call a year or two later saying, I'm ready to make a change. And because they were ready, I wasn't the initiator of them finally arriving at that. People will be ready when they are ready. Sometimes it takes a long time. And to your point, as I said there, Cameron, and to the people watching the show right now, the two great change agents are suffering and love. And the other one is for changing and transformation is solitude. And in many tribes, what they'll do is they'll throw people in, men especially, into dark caves until they can't leave until they learn how to cry and be with themselves and be okay with just being with themselves. So the men that are listening to this call or listening to this podcast, when's that last time you've actually cried? And if you're too manly to admit it, or I'm too tough, then you definitely have some growing up to do. I'm not here to judge you or label you or compartmentalize you, but I'm here to tell you there's plenty of growth. And there's never, I truly believe that we're evolving as human beings forever and ever and ever. So to the people out there that are struggling in their own life, the people that are struggling with other people that have relationship struggles, or, you know, oftentimes you got to go on your self journey, look inward first, know thyself first, understand yourself, appreciate their world, look into their world. Compassion. The word compassion actually means to really literally suffer with. To go into their suffering and be with them while they suffer. But that doesn't mean you stay there with them forever and you just sit there in the suffering and not do anything about it. You empower yourself. You become an example of what inspiration and compassion and love is in whatever role you're playing in your life. So hopefully that clarified a few things with regards to when enough is enough. I truly believe everybody has a leverage point. As an example of this, if I took you to an island right now and you were the most depressed person and you felt like you lost your drive, lost your hunger, lost your thirst for life, and you went to an island and there was no food, and there was literally, I said, okay, you're going to have to go and kill something to go get that food, or you had to actually hunt for food. You'd find a way to do it. Like, trust me, when it comes to hunger, when you know something means something to you where you're going to die, trust me when I say this, human beings will find a way. Everyone has a leverage point. Everybody has a point where they're saying enough is enough, where the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of changing. So if you have any questions about this topic, I know this is a broad topic, please send me your questions either on YouTube or on Facebook or Spotify, whatever it might be, or an email, whatever it is on this show. And we'll continue this Q&A process. And to your continued upgrade and evolution, thanks, Cam, for your insights. You're growing. I love it, man. So amazing to see you grow. And to your continued upgrade and evolution, live it up with power, purpose, and passion. If you love this podcast, share it, comment on it, whatever you got to do. We love you. And to your greatest upgrades and to your endeavors, we love you guys. Take care.